Hello, welcome to Give Me Credit. I'm J.S. Waldo, and I am here with our host, John Mackey. How are you today, John?
I'm lovely. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you. Doing well. A couple weeks ago, I'm going to dive right in here. A
Yeah.
couple weeks ago had a podcast that we did regarding Credit Karma, and it left me thinking about it and came up with some further questions. And I thought, if you're game, let's talk about that some more today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me just preface this. Today we're gonna talk about it can be kind of uncomfortable. So if you're uncomfortable, it's okay. It's an uncomfortable topic. We're talking about Credit Karma, the platform millions of Americans use to check their credit score. Free score, alerts, approval odds, financial monitoring. But here's the question about Credit Karma. Is it primarily an educational platform? That's what Credit Karma told us.
Yeah.
Or is it primarily a marketing engine built on engagement? Now, John, you've publicly been critical of the structure for years about this, and today we're going to go deep.
Yeah, I have been, JS. It's been a real bone, and you'll probably hear my voices or my voice. Uh, my voices. Yes, my wife says I've got voices, but uh, my voice on this topic. First of all, let's start here. This is not an accusation of illegal behavior. It is an accusation of deception. They've deceived us.
Mhm.
This is not an emotional attack. It's an analysis of incentives. Incentives matter. They influence how companies design products, market services, and make money. Money's good, but not on the backs of a liar. Incentives design the system that ultimately designs human behavior. If a company earns more when people borrow more, that matters. It doesn't mean the company is breaking the law, but it does mean the system pushes in a certain direction. Follow the incentives and you'll understand the outcome. As we used to say, watch the money, follow the money.
Okay, so let's start with something we can clearly prove.
Yep.
How does Credit Karma make money?
Well, the company has publicly stated that it earns money from banks and lenders. When a user applies for a credit card or loan through the platform and gets approved, Credit Karma is paid a referral fee. Credit Karma is owned by Intuit. They purchased it a couple years ago. That's public information. Nothing about this structure is hidden. This is a commission-based business model. That means revenue increases when users apply for financial products, users are approved, new credit cards or loans are opened. Now let's pause here. That's incentive, and it's not neutral. If a company earns more money when more people apply and get approved, then user activity becomes financially valuable. The more users engage with the platform, the more opportunities there are for applications. Applications, app opens matter. Clicks matter. Seeing offers matter. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is how referral marketing works. It's a basic business mechanic. And when a platform presents itself as a free educational tool while earning money when users borrow, that certainly creates a conflict. Where is its primary interest? Is it instructing on credit or is it selling credit cards? This is where the deception begins. My old statement is dazzle me with brilliance or baffle me with BS. By the way, that stands for bullshit. Sorry, I'm kind of coming off a bit harsh.
That's okay. Let's talk about the phrase which they basically made famous. Do you know your credit score? Why does that bother you?
The first time I heard it, I thought I was going to jump out of my skin because it's so so deceptive. Why does it bother me? It makes me livid. Although they don't do it anymore, their advertising was always centered around that one question. And
Mhm.
it perpetuated a deception because the phrase suggests there is only one credit score. And historically, there's hundreds. And it was deliberate. There isn't one credit score. There are many, hundreds. Most consumers who use Credit Karma see a VantageScore. That's the model shown on the app. But many lenders, especially mortgage lenders, use FICO scoring models when making real lending decisions. And you know that
Mhm.
being an underwriter for all these loans. You know that.
Yep.
That difference may not seem important when someone is casually checking an app. It becomes very important when they apply for credit and get denied. The confusion usually shows up at the worst possible time, when they're trying to finance a car, when
Mhm.
applying for a mortgage, when receiving a credit denial. And here's what happens psychologically. The consumer says, but my score was 720 on the app. Now they're confused. They feel misled. They feel blindsided. My issue is not that VantageScore exists. It's a legitimate credit score. Different scoring models are legitimate and legal. My issue is the marketing message. And isn't that so true for most products out there? It's not the
Mhm.
product, it's the message. When you ask, do you know your credit score without clearly explaining that there are multiple scoring models used for different purposes, you create the impression of a single universal number. The engagement hook is strong. The education comes after, if it comes at all. In a system that affects people's ability to borrow, buy homes, finance cars, education should be the first thing on the agenda. And it's not. Application behavior should come second. Let me give you a short story. I had a client of mine that checked his credit score every Sunday morning at 720. Score was 720. The ads had asked, do you know your credit score? And he did. He had it down to the infant the the exact score.
Mhm.
He wore that number like a badge of responsibility. He almost told me one time, "Hi, my name is Philip, and I've got a 720." Well, so when he walked into the dealership to finance a car, he felt prepared, confident. I'm at 720. My name is Philip. He told the finance manager. But minutes later, the manager looked up and said, no, sorry, your score is 682. That's the score we use. We use FICO. Marcus felt blindsided. The app on his phone still said 720, but the lender was looking at something entirely different. What shook him was realizing he had built a financial confidence around that number that wasn't even being used. The marketing question had implied there was one universal score. There isn't, and that confusion doesn't show up when you're casually scrolling an app. It shows up when you're applying for a car, a mortgage, or staring at a higher interest rate than you expected. In credit, clarity should come before application.
So first off, let's talk about alerts. Why are they framed as urgent instead of educational?
You know, it's word games. And here's the revised version. Emotional triggers get attention. We don't have Credit Karma's internal data, so we can't prove how they design alerts, but we understand human behavior. If you get a message that says your score changed, you feel tension. You open the app. If you get a message that says your credit utilization increased by 3%, and here's what that means, you would have learned something, but they don't do that.
Mhm.
It feels calmer. One message creates emotion, the other creates understanding. And structurally, this is simple. Emotional triggers increase app opens. App opens increase exposure to offers. More exposure increase the chances of applications. I'm not accusing anyone of breaking the law. No, I'm not. I'm pointing out incentives. If engagement leads to revenue, then emotional triggers become good business. That's not a moral claim, it's basic economics.
And it's genius marketing because it's working. And you've said before, credit is being gamified. Explained that.
Well, credit scoring was designed to measure long-term behavior patterns. It's an algorithm,
Mhm.
and it looks at payment history, credit utilization, the length of your credit history, types of accounts, consistency over time. These factors measure habits. They reward steady, disciplined behavior. Credit was never designed to be checked every day like a stock ticker.
Yeah.
But when you introduce constant notifications, approval odds percentages, pre-approval banner, score increases and decreases, weekly score updates, you create what they call a feedback loop. A feedback loop is when the result of something feeds back into it and influences what happens next. And it's a critical item that Credit Karma uses. The focus shifts from long-term habits to short-term reactions. Instead of asking, am I building a strong financial pattern? The consumer starts asking, did my score go up today? I wonder if it is. Did it go down? Why did it go down? That is a different mindset. Banks lend based on behavior, not feelings or notification. When credit becomes gamified, the focus moves from discipline to a dopamine effect. It becomes about the quick hit of seeing a number move instead of the slow work of building stable habits. That shift in focus is my concern.
So what about the approval odds tools? I mean, some people would say they seem helpful.
You know, they can, and they are, but they also increase perceived certainty. When people feel more certain, they are more likely to apply. Most consumers do not fully understand what goes into real underwriting decisions. Approval is not based on a score alone. It can include income verification, debt to income ratios. You know all this. I'm
I
not
do.
teaching anybody new. You
Mhm.
know, lender
This is
specific
what I
rules.
write about, exactly
I
what I
know,
write about.
absolutely. They're called overlays,
Mhm.
internal risk flags, manual review factors. Approval odds tools are an estimated base on data patterns. They predict your chances. Underwriting is different. It's the lender's formal decision process where they fully review your risk. They're not the same thing. When
Mhm.
someone sees excellent approval odds, they feel more confident. They will apply. And when confidence rises, people apply more often.
Yeah.
And sometimes, even though you have excellent approval odds, you do get rejected. That's a slam.
Yeah.
In the world of high interest credit cards, more applications can have real consequences.
Okay, so let's go to the controversial point.
Yeah.
Did Credit Karma contribute to rising credit card debt?
Did it single handedly cause an increase? No. But it did reduce the friction between consumer impulse and lender products. Yeah, it did do that.
Mhm.
Consider what happens when credit access becomes one click. Offers are personalized. Alerts create urgency. Approval feels highly likely. And the platform earns money when borrowing happens. Each of these steps lowers resistance. It's a funnel. In the
Yes.
past, applying for credit required more effort. There were more pauses in the process, more time to think, more time to process. When you reduce those pauses, you increase speed. Lower resistance and a higher interest rate market, that can increase borrowing velocity. People move from interest to application faster, and many times they disregard the interest rate. This does not remove personal responsibility. Consumers still make their own decisions, but they're making those decisions based on the dopamine effect.
Yeah.
Systems influence behavior, and when those systems operate at scale across millions of users, even small behavioral shifts can have large financial consequences. Scale matters.
Yes, I agree with you on all that. So, John, what's your bottom line?
Consumers, they need clarity. They need information. They don't need more marketing. We've seen the marketing.
Mhm.
Just give us good information. The same platform monitors your credit, sends alerts when something changes, shows your approval odds, promotes credit cards and loans, earns revenue when you accept those offers. Then you have two functions operating in the same place. Monitoring builds trust. Marketing monetizes that trust. The structure, excuse me, the structure is not illegal, but it is powerful. When a company both informs you and profits from your borrowing decisions, the relationship deserves careful attention. Powerful systems should be examined closely, not emotionally, but logically. We have to slow down, and clarity brings and protects the consumer.
Yeah, for me, I like this topic because it is what we strive to give, which is credit literacy. Credit literacy is not the same as watching your score move up and down. Real credit literacy means understanding patterns. It means knowing how to manage utilization with discipline, how to maintain consistent on-time payments, how your debt is structured, how long-term behavior affects lending decisions. Alerts do not fix patterns. Discipline fixes patterns. If you want to succeed with credit, you can't live in reaction mode. You can't live with that dopamine reaction. You cannot chase every notification or score change. You must understand how the system works, which is why we're here talking about this. Winning at credit is not about watching the number. It's about mastering the mechanics behind it. Now,
Yeah, we have to understand too, guys, that we're at 1.3 going on 1.4 trillion dollars in credit card debt. It's creating a huge problem, not just for scores, but debt in America.
mhm,
And it I think it really behooves us to educate ourselves about credit scoring and debt collections. It's a topic that's near and dear to both of our hearts.
yes.
And truth in education and information needs to happen because we can't keep on spending like we are. It's simply not possible. Although it is possible, but it's not positivity in the good.
Right. Well, thank you, John, for again, for all the information and the factual information. This is credit education, and this is what we are both trying to give to everybody out there. So for you consumers out there, or the audience, thank you very much for watching. This was Give Me Credit. I'm JS Waldo. You can follow me on Substack at JS Waldo. And this is John Mackey, our credit genius. Follow the credit genius on Substack as well. If you're watching on YouTube, you can like, you can subscribe, you can ring that bell, as they say, get notified. We publish weekly. So please follow along, send us any questions. You can DM us directly or leave a comment, whatever you're comfortable with. We're here to answer your questions and give you some facts. Thank
Love
you
it.
again, John.
Thank you. Thanks, JS. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye everyone.